All right, Broncos country, we are live. Be sure to leave a like on this stream before we get started. Denver Broncos get a big victory over the Los Angeles Chargers today. They are now sitting at 7-6 and in prime position to control their own destiny moving into the playoff race. A big victory for the Denver Broncos today. We'll be breaking all that down in just 1 second, but before that happens, we're just going to wait a few minutes for some people to start streaming on in here before we officially get going. We've got Jess in the house. Thank you so much for doing that housekeeping stuff, Jess. I really appreciate you. We got Bobby Bottoms in the house saying, let's freaking go, baby. Absolutely. This was a big win for the Broncos, albeit frustrating at times. The Broncos were able to put together a really masterful final offensive drive there. They were able to take 7.5 minutes off the clock and put this game away with a wide open blown coverage touchdown to Adam Troutman. It was just an absolutely incredible drive that pounded them into submission. Obviously, the Chargers lost Justin Herbert there in the second quarter to a finger injury, forcing Easton Stick to take the reins for the rest of the way for the Chargers. But the Broncos now are in position here at 7-6 to truly control everything moving forward. We got Oh Yeah in the house saying, wow, the Chiefs lost, haha. Yeah, but unfortunately, that Kansas City loss did kind of hurt the Denver Broncos playoff chances a little bit. Before we break the game down, let's just go ahead and jump right into that. After the outcomes of today's games, the Denver Broncos currently have a 44% chance to make the playoffs according to the New York Times playoff machine here. The Broncos are currently holding the number 9 seed behind the Indianapolis Colts, who have the 7th seed, and then the Houston Texans, who obviously hold a tiebreaker over us because of their win over us. So right now, we kind of have to get past the Colts and the Texans if we are to sneak into the playoffs, but the Broncos currently have a 44% chance to get in. We got David from Colorado in the house. Good to see you, David. If you could just do me a favor and clean up the language in the chat a little bit, I would definitely appreciate it. That's a word that I don't really like using in my vocabulary. I can't believe we're only a game behind the Chiefs in the division. Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Broncos did, or the fact that the Chiefs did lose to the Buffalo Bills, that opens things up for the Broncos to potentially steal the AFC West from the Kansas City Chiefs. They're only 1 game behind the Chiefs. They have a win over the Chiefs this year. That could be a scenario that's in play here. In fact, according to the New York Times playoff model, there's a 9% chance of that scenario happening. So at the end of the day, the Broncos still have a better chance of making the playoffs as a wild card team at a 36% chance to make the playoffs. But still, though, there is a strong, well, not a strong chance, but there is a chance for the Denver Broncos to host the wild card game and win their game or win their division and overtake the Kansas City Chiefs as champions of the AFC West for the first time since 2015, our Super Bowl year. Is that the most likely scenario? No, but would it be fun if that happened? Abso-freaking-lutely, it would. But coming over here into the playoff scenarios right now, I'll transition over to this screen right here. The Broncos, 44% chance to make the playoffs after the series of events today. Any of the outcomes that happen in the following 2 games, there's only one AFC game. It's Titans-Dolphins. It would be 1 percentage point higher if the Dolphins were to win that one. So that doesn't really affect the Broncos' playoff chances too much. So yeah, man, 44% chance to make it in after starting the season 1-5. You'll definitely take that if you are the Denver Broncos. Herbert may be out for the season, says Jay. That certainly would be bad for the Chargers. Never want to see that, but that could be potentially some good news for the Denver Broncos as they still have one more matchup against the Chargers. Wouldn't be surprised at all if the Chargers ended up firing Brandon Staley after this one as well. The Chiefs' schedule is super weak the rest of the season, but by that same token, the Chiefs have not played to the level that we're used to seeing the Chiefs play, especially on offense. So, I don't know, man. Anything can happen there, and I realized I never even transitioned over to this screen right here. 44% chance for the Denver Broncos to make the playoffs after this outcome. Broncos winning over the Chargers, Bills winning over the Chiefs, and then the Vikings beating the Raiders by a score of 3-0. A pathetic performance by the Raiders. I don't think they are any longer a threat to this Denver Broncos team, and the Broncos should steamroll the Raiders in their regular season finale in Las Vegas. What's the Chiefs' schedule looking like? Dark Green Marine says it's going to be the Pats, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Chargers. So I don't know, man. I think that their most losable game right there probably is against the Chargers. But if the Chargers continue to play like they have in that game today, I don't know, man. This could be a cupcake schedule for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, guys, I'm going to go into video making mode right now. I got to get a post-game video out, just kind of recapping things. So we're going to go ahead and transition into video making mode. And then after that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Sean Payton's press conference, and we'll go ahead and take a listen to that. So we're going to go ahead and go into video making mode. I'm going to hit stop recording. We're going to go into video making mode starting right now, guys. The Denver Broncos pick up a massive, massive win today over the Los Angeles Chargers, 24-7. The Denver Broncos put themselves in prime position to control their own destiny in the playoff seedings. It was a game that certainly had its frustrating moments from the offense, but that final statement drive from the offense where they were able to burn off 7.5 minutes of clock and capitalize it with a wide open Adam Troutman touchdown, that was the drive that really made you feel good about this victory for the Denver Broncos and really made you feel like this Denver Broncos team has a strong chance, man. They actually have a legitimate chance here to go undefeated in their final games. We've got Detroit coming up, who's going to be a very beatable opponent, especially after their embarrassing loss to the Chicago Bears. We've got the Chargers again, we've got the Patriots, and we've got the Raiders in that schedule. I think the Denver Broncos could go undefeated in that stretch. I really do. But breaking down this victory, it certainly had its frustrating moments from the offense, but in the second quarter there, the Broncos were able to get a 23-yard field goal from Will Lutz, and that came after a Javonte Williams rushing touchdown. That got set up by a tipped ball from Baron Browning that landed in the hands of Jonathan Cooper, gave the Broncos excellent field position. The Broncos, once again, were able to win the turnover battle today. The Chargers had two turnovers. The Broncos had one turnover, so in these games that we continue to win the turnover battle, guys, the Broncos continue to fare well. Turnovers are really the key ingredient for the Denver Broncos to pick up their victories. That last drive right there, though, from the Broncos, again, was such a statement. Again, you took 7.5 minutes off the clock, capitalized it with that Adam Troutman touchdown pass. Really exquisite stuff. And then there was another touchdown where Russell Wilson threw it up to Courtland Sutton. He had elite pass protection on that throw. Courtland Sutton made a one-handed catch while getting interfered with. It was awesome, awesome stuff right there. We go ahead and take a look at the box score stats from this game. Russell Wilson, 21 for 33, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Javonte Williams was our leading rusher, 17 carries for 66 yards, 3.9 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Jaleel McLaughlin had one of his better days, 5 carries, 25 yards, 5.0 yards per carry. Courtland Sutton was our leading receiver, 3 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Samaje Perine, our second leading receiver on the day, 5 catches, 36 yards, 7.2 yards per catch. Really was super effective in the final 2-minute drill situation for the Denver Broncos to end the first half. So Samaje Perine, really good stuff right there from him. Jerry Jeudy should have had a touchdown catch to end the first half. Unfortunately, the Broncos had to settle for 3. Jeudy couldn't drag his feet. He also had another brutal drop earlier in the game. Jeudy did not have his greatest day at all, but the Broncos were able to overcome that. Alex Singleton led the team in tackles with 14. I thought Alex Singleton did get better as the game got on, but I didn't think that it was really the greatest performance from Alex Singleton in that game. Uh-oh. Oh no. It stopped recording. Am I still live, guys? Please tell me I am still live. Please tell me I am still live right now. Oh, great. Of course my computer decides to do this right now. I'll just have to go back and get this video recording in a second, guys, because I think we are still live right now. That is obviously the most important thing here. Yes, we're still live. Okay, good. So we'll just continue this, and I'll go ahead and chop up a video in just a second, guys. But, yeah, Denver Broncos, Certainly had their frustrating moments. I totally forgot where I even was right there. But the Broncos had their frustrating moments. Coming back in here to the box score stats, Easton Stick, Chargers leading passer after the Justin Herbert injury. He was 13 for 24, 175 yards, 179 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Keenan Allen had a throw today, and then Justin Herbert 9 for 17 for 96 yards and an interception prior to his injury. Russell Wilson had that one interception there to start the game that, although I don't think the pick itself was his fault, he could have given a better ball to Marvin Mims on that play. Austin Eckler, 10 carries for 51 yards and a touchdown. He was their leading rusher. Quentin Johnston, 3 receptions, 91 yards. Keenan Allen, 6 catches for 68 yards. Overall, man, a true statement victory for this Denver Broncos team. And it's one that really, again, helps out our playoff positioning. After the events that transpired today, with the Broncos win, the Bills getting the win, and then the Vikings beating the Raiders, the Broncos currently have a 44% chance to make the NFL playoffs. That can shoot all the way up to a 69% chance to make the NFL playoffs if the Broncos are able to beat the Detroit Lions next week. So if the Broncos are able to get that victory, they very well could be in a strong position to control their own destiny moving into the playoff chase. So right now, the Denver Broncos hold that number 9 seed behind the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. So the Broncos, good victory today, entering the next week at 7-6. Saturday game coming up against the Detroit Lions. I am really looking forward to it. All right, guys, be sure to leave a like on the video as well as subscribe and ring the bell. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out. All right, guys, we are out of video making mode now. I'll go ahead and chop that up as soon as we are done with the live stream, and I will go ahead and throw that up as its own separate video. Thank you guys for bearing with me here. Now I will go ahead and start focusing a little bit more on the chat. This is why Jeudy does not get targeted. He drops everything. Granted, it wasn't a great throw from Russell Wilson on that drop, but he should have made that catch. On the one where he didn't toe tap to get that touchdown, that one's all on Jeudy. That one was inexcusable to me. OMG, yes, Cortland Sutton, the beast. Absolutely, man. He was absolutely phenomenal. If we make the playoffs, I think we should build around Russ in the offseason. That's a conversation that I still feel like the Denver Broncos need to have. There's still some flaws in Russell Wilson's game that makes me concerned long term, but I'm just going to be honest, guys. I'm not going to have that conversation right now. I don't want to come across as a negative Nelly here. I want to enjoy this victory because this is a hard-earned victory that we got today. This is one that really helps out the Broncos' playoff chances. I'm not going to sit here and be negative Nancy today, so I'm going to choose to focus on the more positive things. I think that Russell Wilson, at the end of the day, wasn't perfect, did enough to win, and that is what matters for me. Colts and Steelers play each other, so if we win next week, we leap above one of them. Huge, man. Absolutely huge. It hurt last week not getting that win over the Houston Texans, but since we got the win today, we really do control our own destiny with the Colts and Steelers basically being able to cannibalize one of those two teams will cannibalize each other next week. So, yeah, man, the Broncos are in good shape right now. They really are. The Lions are going to try to lure us into a shootout, and the Broncos better be ready for it. They better be ready for it because the Lions are a team that had a really embarrassing loss today to the Chicago Bears. I know that Lions fans are probably going to view this game coming up against Denver as a get-right game for Detroit. Detroit better take the Broncos seriously because if they don't, the Broncos have the potential to go in there and kick their ass. They really do. We would be ahead of the Browns if they lose, I think, too. Yeah, if the Browns had lost today, that would have been, I think, a playoff spot for Denver. Unfortunately, Cleveland was unable to take care of business today. They took care of business, but they weren't able to take care of Denver's business. But, yeah, so currently Cleveland holds the number 5 seed. Pittsburgh holds the number 6 seed, and then Indianapolis holds the number 7 seed. So that's currently where things sit in the AFC playoff picture. Let's go ahead and see if Sean Payton has gone on the podium yet, because if that has happened, we will totally go ahead and bring Sean Payton's press conference in. Alan, can you do me a favor, please? Can you hand me those purple headphones that are sitting right there? Just follow the cord where they're plugged in and unplug it, please. Thank you so much. All right, we got some news on Herbert. Fractured finger on his throwing hand. That comes after he had a fractured finger on his non-throwing hand. So that could mean that Herbert could miss some significant time here. And now we're one game back from the Chiefs in the AFC West. Looks like Sean Payton has not spoken with the media yet. As soon as Sean does speak, we'll go ahead and bring that in. We got Mark in the house saying, "What's up, Syndicate? Go Broncos." Great to see you, Mark. I know that this victory did give a lot of people in Broncos country some heart attacks. It felt like that drive where the Chargers finally were able to get points on the board. It was almost like, oh man, here we go. Our offense was unable to really go on a sustained drive to take time off the clock, and they were potentially going to let the Chargers right back into this. But on the subsequent offensive possession for Denver, able to take off 7.5 minutes of time off that clock, which was huge. You basically shut out the Chargers' opportunity to come back because you limited the amount of possessions they could have at the end of the game. That drive was a statement drive, and just like Matt Ryan talked about in the TV broadcast, those are the kind of drives that the Denver Broncos are going to have to go on if they are expected to win football games long term and win football games in the playoffs. So if the Broncos can continue those kind of long statement drives where they're running the ball, bleeding time in between snaps, that is the formula for this team to have successful, sustainable offense. And as we get later and later into December and into January, that's what we're going to need to see moving forward. Yep, fractured right index finger. That is huge, man. The index finger is a critical finger that you need in order to spin the ball and generate the true velocity that you need on the football. So this could be a massive long-term injury here for Justin Herbert. The Chargers, by all intents and purposes, were eliminated from playoff contention today anyway with this loss to Denver. So maybe they just roll with Easton Stick for the rest of the year and put their franchise quarterback on ice. Again, I would not be surprised at all if Brandon Staley got fired after this game. Some of his in-game decision-making was absolutely questionable, going for it on fourth down instead of taking the easy points. The Chargers could have very easily been more in this game than they were. They could have potentially won this game if Justin Herbert had stayed in there in the second half, because it really looked like the Broncos were starting to sputter a little bit on defense. But then obviously Herbert got hurt, and that really took away any chance that the Chargers had. But Staley certainly did not help that cause with some of his in-game management stuff. That's really just a cherry on top for me. Brandon Staley better get fired after this, and I'm coming from that perspective purely as an analyst. I'm not using my Broncos fan glasses and all when I come to that opinion. I just feel like Brandon Staley is the main reason why this Chargers team, which on paper really is a better team than the Denver Broncos, they should have won that game, but they've underachieved this entire season, and it all boils down to coaching. The fish rots from the head down. Brandon Staley has to go. Has to go. I'm turning this into a Chargers stream, but again, when you go out and you have a performance like this, it's unacceptable. It's inexcusable, especially with the amount of talent that you have on your roster and the quarterback that you have on your roster in Justin Herbert. Inexcusable. And I'm curious to see if Herbert getting injured will maybe buy Brandon Staley some more time. Maybe it was the out that Brandon Staley needed. I don't know. I think we game planned for Herbert. Playing Easton Stick was a wild card. It was, and I thought the Broncos handled it well. It kind of allowed the Broncos to blitz a little bit more, which was really, really nice. Justin Herbert's not necessarily a quarterback that you really want to blitz because he's going to pick on you and take advantage of the voids that you have in zone coverage when you do blitz. Easton Stick isn't necessarily able to do that. The Broncos were able to bring Jaquan McMillan as a blitzer. They were able to bring Josie Jewell as a blitzer. They were able to bring Alex Singleton as a blitzer. Vance Joseph called a phenomenal game plan today. Even when Justin Herbert was in there, the Broncos really were lights out against the Chargers offense. It was all game long, save for that one drive in the fourth quarter. That was the only drive where the Chargers were able to get anything going on offense. Outside of that, Denver really dominated them and played completely lights out on defense, and that started with Vance Joseph's game plan. He was lights out today, Broncos country. I cannot even begin to stress how impressed I was with Vance Joseph. And if Vance Joseph keeps this up, man, he's got a chance to earned himself a pretty nice long-term extension as the Broncos defensive coordinator, taking this team that started 1-5, had one of the worst defensive performances in NFL history down in Miami. This group has stayed resilient. They've kept the fight in them. They've been able to completely change their identity on defense, and that starts with Vance Joseph. It also starts with guys like Jaquan McMillan and PJ Locke. Both of those guys played phenomenal games today. Jaquan McMillan should have had a defensive touchdown. He beat the Chargers off the edge, sacked Easton Stick, should have been a strip sack fumble. They ultimately decided that Easton Stick's arm was coming forward, so it wasn't a scoop and score by Jaquan McMillan. It damn well should have been, though. Jaquan, though, has just been absolutely phenomenal. He's earned himself a potential payday here in Denver. The fact that he's only making pennies right now as an undrafted free agent is absolutely ridiculous. The Broncos might have to think about locking up Jaquan McMillan long term. They really might have to. Stroud has a concussion. Let's see what happens. Next week, if he can't play, the Texans are toast. They're going to be going up against Tennessee, which I do feel like is an opponent that could give them some issues if Will Levis has a big day. And just a little personal note there that might actually give the Tennessee Titans a little bit of motivation to win this game. They're going to be wearing those Houston Oilers uniforms against the Texans, so that might just give them that little bit of extra motivation to win this game. If the Houston Texans lose, that could be huge for the Denver Broncos. Buffalo winning today, that does hurt a little bit, but remember, Denver has that tiebreaker over Buffalo from our victory up there. That one is really going to come back and help us out big time, I feel like, as we get into the final couple of weeks of the season. The Broncos, man, they have one game to give as we move forward into these final 4 games. That's the Detroit game. But with how Detroit's been playing, I feel like the Broncos could even win that game. They really could. Detroit's defense has played really, really vulnerable these last couple of weeks. Jared Goff did not play well today, just based on what I saw on the box score stats and a few clips on Red Zone that I saw. Jared Goff did not play well. If the Broncos can get that version of the Detroit Lions to show up, they may get a win there too, and if they get that win in Detroit, that'll give them just that little bit of extra cushioning moving forward. Chargers, we still have to deal with them one more time this year. The game's going to be in Denver, a place where Justin Herbert has never won in his career, and by that point, we might even have to face off against Easton Stick again. So that's a game that I'm pretty confident about. New England Patriots at home, I'm really confident about that game, and then going on the road against the Raiders in the season finale, they couldn't even score any points today. So the Broncos could be staring down an undefeated record in their final 4 games, and if they go undefeated in their final 4 games, then that would really, really solidify their playoff chances here. Dark Green Marine says Jared Goff is an interception king. He isn't accurate. Yeah, based on a couple of plays that I saw today, he did not look very accurate at all. Again, I have to go back and watch the tape on that game. I'm going to be evaluating that one pretty heavily going into the game planning week for the Detroit Lions. But if we can make Jared Goff look uncomfortable and make Jared Goff look like the version of Jared Goff that showed up today, the Broncos could very well win that game in Detroit. Mark says, is Jerry Jeudy extremely overrated? Extremely overrated, no. Slightly overrated, yes. I would definitely say so. Now, the ball that he dropped in the first half, that's one that he has to catch. It's not a great throw by Russell Wilson, the deep ball, but Jeudy has to make that catch. He's got to make the adjustment. The ball went right through his hands. And then the touchdown, Russell put that one right on him. That was a pinpoint accurate pass from Russell Wilson. Jeudy had lazy footwork on that one. He has to, and I mean has to, drag his toes on that one. If he does, the Broncos could have gone into halftime up 14-0. Instead, they had to settle for a field goal, and they only went up 10-0 heading into halftime. Those were just missed opportunities right there. And Jerry Jeudy, if he truly is an alpha number 1 receiver, which I don't think he is, but if he thinks he is, those are plays that he has to make. The quarterback play isn't always going to be perfect. Doesn't matter. Jeudy has to make the play. And even when the quarterback play was perfect, Jeudy didn't make the play. So way overrated. I don't necessarily think so, but slightly overrated, absolutely. And the conversation could potentially be had about the Denver Broncos moving off from Jerry Jeudy in the offseason. But right now, I don't necessarily think Jerry Jeudy is the biggest problem for the Denver Broncos on offense, but he is a contributing factor to some of the problems that we had in this game, that's for sure. Getting 70 points scored on our defense might have been a blessing in disguise. Defense got rid of players from that game, and that made the necessary changes to play better on our defense. I mean, they really did. Obviously, that's the game where we saw Frank Clark and Randy Gregory basically get completely washed out of the game plan. Broncos moved on from both of those players. Esane Bassey was benched and then cut after that game. That allowed Jaquan McMillan to take over at nickel, and I cannot even begin to stress how phenomenal Jaquan has been. He is a superstar in the making for this Denver Broncos defense. Him taking over was a big part of that. And I gotta be honest, I feel like Kareem Jackson's suspensions have been a blessing in disguise for this Denver Broncos team, because it has allowed PJ Locke to overtake him as the starting safety, and PJ Locke has played phenomenal. So the Broncos going with that youth movement on defense really has worked to their advantage, and it really makes me wonder why it didn't happen earlier when we saw some of this same stuff go down in training camp, where Jaquan McMillan was playing lights out and some of the younger edge rushers were outplaying the veteran guys. But it took us a while to find that identity on defense, but when we did find that identity, it really turned into something special. It really did. Touchdown has to be caught? Absolutely. It's inexcusable that Jerry Jeudy did not catch that touchdown. Inexcusable. Has to get caught. Mandatory. Has to. If we get into the playoffs, defense and running game travels and wins playoff games, so you never know. It's true, man. The Broncos do have the formula in place to win playoff games by running the ball, playing sound defense, and playing well enough on offense to win games. And playing well enough on the passing game, I should say, to win games. That is the formula to winning playoff games. The Broncos have that formula, so you never know, man. If we get into the dance, there's a chance we could go into a place like Miami and maybe upset the Dolphins in the wild card round. Do I think the Broncos are a Super Bowl team? No, I don't. But do I think this team has a chance to go in and maybe make some noise in the playoffs? Absolutely, they do. But first and foremost, they have to get there. This final month of the season is going to be key in that. Uh-oh, my laptop being unplugged. Mark says, I sure hope Miners is okay. Seems like it was just an illness with him. I don't think it was anything overtly serious with Quinn Miners. We are actually going to go ahead and wrap this one up, guys, because I do want to watch that Eagles-Cowboys game. So we're going to go ahead and kind of cut this post-game stream a little bit short. We're going to make some videos as well. I'm going to go and chop up that post-game video and a couple other things as well. So we'll probably go ahead and cut the post-game stream off at the 30-minute mark. But again, man, statement victory for the Denver Broncos in this game. We got says Sutton would have caught that touchdown. Daniel says not Jeudy. I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like Sutton, pretty much anytime you float a ball up to him in a 50-50 situation, it's more like a 70-20, 80, or more like a 70-30, 80-20 situation. Miners was a heart issue. Oh, that's not good. That's pretty scary, actually. That's really scary. I hope that Quinn Miners is okay. Oh, no. Yeah, anytime you hear something like a heart issue, that's not what you want to hear at all. All right. You know what? Before we dip out of here, guys, we will go ahead and bring in Sean Payton. Let's go ahead and hear what he had to say after the game.
I thought the one thing that stood out was our ability to play a lot of that game.
He's still sick. You can hear it.
Especially in
Let me know if I need to turn Sean up or anything, guys.
We got off the field defensively, and then we talk about it a lot, but it did feel like most of the game was on their end of the field. And then when mistakes happen, like the interception, they become more significant. So a lot of things to look at and point out. I mean, the third down numbers were big. The turnovers, we won +1, I think. Sutton's big
Russ
play.
could have had
Russell's
4
throw.
touchdowns if Jeudy wasn't trash.
Defensively, but we did a good job harassing the quarterback, both of them. So, but it was a good win. Any questions? Yeah, look, it's too hard of a league to give, a guy like Herbert that, give him his time, and those guys are, man, especially a player like him is very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And so disrupting that timing is important. Oh yeah, I mean, and we knew that they were going to go for it more often than not. I don't know that they converted one, maybe one fourth down, but
Yeah, they converted
I was
once.
pleased. It was a big turn there to come away with, no points given up, and then, I said there were a number of drives. I think one resulted in a touchdown, but coming out of our own, usually we talk about 2 first downs if you're backed up inside. 2 first downs puts it to a neutral position. We were able to do that and some. So it was one of our better team wins this year.
Yes. We played complimentary ball today.
Man, it was something.
His knack for making spectacular catches.
Yeah, he's like that big power forward, It's a play that was called for Judy. The coverage actually went to the field where Jerry was. If you notice one thing on that play, though, I think Russ had 7, 8 seconds.
He did. It was phenomenal.
Because obviously that was the second part of a broken play. And there's a lot of confidence that Russ has in Cortland, and it's earned, and it's certainly, he gets the penalty and he still makes the play. It's impressive.
It is very impressive.
It was one of the keys to victory. I mean, it was one of a few, but that was going to be important, and we had good balance.
But you guys seem like you were a tougher, more physical team. When did that how did you get that to happen with your team? It wasn't that way maybe right at first, but this team's a tough team.
You just gotta stay resilient in those situations, man.
Look, I think you got to practice in training camp. I think there's certain things that you just have to demand and do. It's hard to get in season ready with just going through walkthroughs, and it becomes more challenging. When we practice Wednesday, we spend a lot of time Tuesday night. Like, all right, are we in pads tomorrow? Are they banged up? Do we need to? There's always that fine line as to where our team's at. But I hope that's something that you can say about our team, that we're a physical team, because it's something that we emphasize and we think, emotionally, physically, you have to be tough.
Absolutely.
And we were today.
After that, they got within 10. There's still 11 minutes left in the game. What did it say to convert the 3 third downs?
Yeah, that was big. That was
3
big.
third down
I hated how
conversions on that
quickly they
drive.
came back with a couple
7.5
chunk
minutes
plays.
off the clock.
We got to stay on
Huge.
top of cover. I mean, when you're playing with a lead, you're going to get some shots. But then to answer was big, and like I said, overall we did a good job. Our punter was outstanding. I just
Yeah.
felt like a lot of the game was inside their 30, and you're going to win a lot when that's the case.
Did
This is
Vince
a
go
league
into
driven
the
by star quarterback play. So when their quarterback goes out, what's your sense on momentum change and how?
Yeah, you just as a play caller and a head coach, you pay attention to how the game's unfolding. Certainly, it's a game driven by quarterback play, but it's also driven by defense and running the football. And I think, look, they moved it a little bit better with the other kid in there. Now, the game was different at that point, in fairness to what they had to do relative to, because they came out, I think, and wanted to run the ball a little bit as well. I mean,
Yes.
you saw that. So, look, it's a division opponent. We'll see him in a couple more, 3 weeks or what have you. And it's one less question about one more demon that we've answered.
Vance,
We'll keep trying to answer
What can
them.
you say from a health standpoint about Quinn?
Pretty
Williams
good.
and Nick
Nothing to
Benito?
report.
I mean,
Nothing.
are
I'll keep
they
you
their player?
posted. I'll keep you posted. I'll never talk to you about injuries after a game. All right. I'll keep you posted, though. No.
Jake Long obviously playing really well in coverage, but his ability to come off the edge, what have you seen there?
Well, he's got real
Yeah, it's
good
been
instincts.
phenomenal.
Part of it's timing,
Hopefully Miners is
You know,
okay.
snap count, a lot of those things. But he's a smart player. That's a good trait to have. His football IQ.
Did Vince go into the game leaning in to the aggressiveness? He's been more and more aggressive.
I think, he's going in with a look. You just can't sit with one look. Like, you're going to go in with pressure, with coverage, with walk up, bail. I mean, you got to go in with a few different pictures, or it's going to be a long day. And I think to his credit and our staff and the players, it couldn't just be like one thing. It had to be a mix, and the timing was good.
How often do you contemplate where you were at 1-5 to where you are now in the satisfaction?
We get in these, and I say this respectfully, we get in these routines where it's like, I can't believe Christmas is around the corner. I really can't, because it's just the next week. It really is. All right, we play Detroit on a
It's the
Saturday.
same way
What's the
for someone like
schedule
me who covers the
Tomorrow,
team.
we'll have scouting report. We'll look at the Lions, and all this other stuff goes on outside, and so it's difficult sometimes when you get to Thanksgiving and Christmas and those, because it's hard. But there's not a lot of reflection. It's like, you take a peek at what the AFC did today, and then let's go. It's on to the next challenge. I'm being honest.
With Jerry, obviously you mentioned that the play that went to Portland was designed for him. What's it going to take to just sort of get him?
Oh,
up there?
look,
Seems like
he'll get his touches. Gosh, I mean, the key is winning, right? And he had a chance to make a play or two today.
He did, and he didn't make it.
And he made a few plays early on. I'm not as worried about it. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
All righty, guys. We're going to go ahead and dip out of here. Eagles and Cowboys game's getting ready to start up. Thank you so much for tuning in to the post-game show. Before we dip out of here, guys, if you could just do me a favor and leave a like on the stream, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are two free and easy ways to show your support. Helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.